All right, welcome back to the podcast, everyone. In this episode, we have a very special guest with us, Dino Rađa. Dino is a Croatian former professional basketball player and is commonly regarded as one of the greats, having won two FIBA Euroleague Championships, two Olympic silver medals, and was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, among numerous other accomplishments. He's the Croatian national team's second all-time scorer, and in this episode, we're going to hear about his career, some stories from his playing days, and hopefully get some all-important questions answered. Dino, thanks for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but I really appreciate you taking the time to come on this because I mean you're somewhat of a legend, especially with us, Croatian and Croatian diaspora. Your name always pops up when you talk about great Croatian athletes, in particular great Croatian basketball players. So it's really an honor to have you on here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Before I start asking, about your career and some stories from your playing days, can you talk a little bit about just growing up in your childhood? I mean, I know you were born in Split. What was sort of your childhood like there?
Very simple. Being on the street all the time. No screens, no mobiles, no, not even TV program. You have one channel that work mostly all day, and that was it. One cartoon of 3 minutes at 7:15 in the evening, and that was it. So pretty simple. Like all boys, I spent most of my days on the street playing some ball or football or basketball or handball or anything. On the summertime, we move all that on the water sports, and you go home only when your mother called you to eat, and back to the streets.
Yeah, more simple lifestyle than today's kids,
Yeah,
that's for sure.
yeah, pretty much.
Were you good at the other sports as well, aside from basketball?
I try many sports when I was a kid. I try with the handball. I try rowing. I try water polo. I try swimming. In Split, these water sports are very popular. So I did a lot of that. But later on, when I started the basketball, which was pretty late, um, I fell in love with it. Basically, I fell in love with the people that I found over there, and we kind of bond very very soon, and we spend a lot of time, with each other before practice, after practice, and that's why I hung around.
At what age did you start playing?
I was over 14. I was like 14 and a half when I came to my first basketball practice.
Wow, yeah, that is pretty late. Were you already tall at that point, or did you grow later on?
I was tall, but not like not like today.
No. So were you,
No.
I mean, I know that helps a lot of people who have growth spurts later on in basketball because, they play like a point guard, they dribble a lot, and then once they grow taller, they keep those skills. Was that something that helped you as far as, dribbling and being agile?
No, I was lucky, when I started, it was good basketball school in Split, and then when I grew up a little bit, I had also I was lucky to be able to work with some of the basketball best, with Ćosić, with Slavko Trninić, and then after Božo Maljković, and sorry.
No problem.
And, those guys really, impacted me a lot, and I learned from them a lot. And especially, I have to emphasize, on Slavko Trinic, because he was the guy who worked with us, hours and hours, and we used to practice, in the summertime, where for like 10 hours a day. So and we did everything. We were probably, uh, pioneers in that kind of work, because as a big guys we did all guard program and the wing program, and running and dribbling and everything. Not only big guys do big guy stuff and little guys do little guy stuff. We did a little bit of everything. So it was really great to have those kind of coaches. And you don't know that when you are that young, but later on you realize who helped you the most in your career.
Mm-hmm. That was at Jugoplastica or Dalvin?
Jugoplastica. Dalvin, I was just a little bit before Jugoplastica.
Mm-hmm. When did you start to get noticed sort of by like international scouts, I guess?
I really don't know. We used to go out and play these tournaments, and in Germany, in France, all over the place. But it's not like today. Today, you know everything about everybody because you can see it on YouTube, on any kind of media, social media. Back then, it was nothing. We have like newspapers where you can read some names and numbers, but you don't know anything. We first time I think we played this. It was one famous tournament in Mannheim in Germany, where some Americans were coming, and I think the first time I was like 16 to attend that tournament with a national team, and I think that was the first time when we went on public display, internationally.
And then you were drafted in 1989 originally, right? But you had some issues with the club.
Yes. I was under contract with the Jugoplastica, and they didn't let me go.
Mm-hmm. And that was
immediately.
That was the same draft year as Petrovic and Divac, and sort of the first wave.
No, Petrovic was there before. It was the same with Toni Kukoc and Divac, I think.
Okay. And so you had some issues with your club.
Divac was no. They were later after me. I think because I'm 1 year older than them. I don't really. I have to check it. I really don't remember. It was a long time ago.
Well, you ended up going, I believe, to Italy after that to play for the NBA.
Yes.
What was that experience like for you?
I think it was good experience for me because living with my parents and going professionally where you are the guy responsible for everything, guilty for everything, and living on your own for the first time very young. I think it helped me a lot growing up as a person, not only as a basketball player, but it was just one level above that I was playing. And I think it was good. Maybe I should have stayed there a year less, but 1 year here or there, it's more or less the same. So,
So that was your first experience. I mean, living abroad, living, outside of your parents' home.
Yes. It was a really good experience for me. I love Italy. I love playing in Italy. The life, the food, the language, and everything. It's a really good experience.
Going back to the draft a little bit, nowadays, it's so televised and it's a huge event and everyone's there and it's on TV and, everyone waits for the draft day. Where were you when you were drafted? Was it as big as it is now?
For me, it was huge, but when we get into the talking with the Celtics, they approached me a year before. We were playing some pre-Olympic tournament in Holland, and they approached me, and of course, I was, very honored to be even mentioned in the Celtics organization, because back then it was Celtics and Lakers, and nobody else existed. It was pre-Jordan era and pre Golden State era and all these players of today. So when they approached me, I was really honored and surprised that they even want to talk to me, and I really wanted to go there, but how the rules are in NBA. So when I was approached from some other people, I told them, I don't want to go to NBA. I want to stay in Europe, and that was my goal. And then nobody took me, and I agree with Celtics already, and they took a player in the first round who was a better player. Then if they took me in the first round, and the second round they would not take such a good player. So we made a deal that I tell everybody, I'm not coming. So nobody took the chance of losing a draft pick, and I'll end up in the second round of the Celtics. I remember them calling me like at 6 a.m.
Were you already awake?
You are drafted. You have a plane tomorrow to catch.
Were you at home asleep, or were you waiting by the TV?
Yeah. No. I was home asleep, but they woke me up.
It's hard to imagine even going to sleep waiting for a call like that.
I knew that's gonna happen, but you know how draft is. You never know. Maybe somebody take a chance, but maybe back then it was not only 2 rounds like today. It was 6, 7 rounds. So maybe somebody would take a chance on the later rounds or 3 rounds. I don't remember how it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it, and I was very happy. And the next day I flew immediately to Boston. We had a press conference. Everybody was very skeptic about me. They thought I don't know English and I'm gonna have problems, Europeans. It was very hard, to be, pioneer in NBA back then.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I wanted to ask about that as far as being a European player. Was there any, I mean, discrimination maybe is not the right word, but was there any, I don't know, sort of feelings against the European players that maybe they can't compete in the NBA or?
Oh, definitely, definitely not. I don't want to say it as anything racist, but it was, back then you didn't have videos that you can see. You could see only somebody in person, and whatever scouts there were in Europe, there were only few of them. It's opinion of one guy, not like today. So people were skeptic, about not only European players, about anybody who would come out of their system of college that you can see every day and follow for years, and then you draft somebody. But somebody who comes from Europe, who play, they don't know what kind of competition is this league or that league or whatever it is. So it was pretty hard for them to take somebody. I understand that, but it was also hard for somebody to go there, because the life completely different. Not only many more games, but the games that last longer, because game in Europe is 40 minutes, over there is 48 minutes, so it's like 20% longer game, plus you have more games. So it was hard physically, mentally, playing back-to-back games, and which you don't have here in Europe. playing, 5 times a week sometimes. It's something that was really hard to adjust to.
That makes sense. Yeah. What else was hard to adjust to in terms of just like living there outside of
The different mentality, different food, different. You are always in a plane. You are traveling always. You don't have time for nothing. I mean, during the season, you are like putting, like somebody put in a blender and just start the blender on October 1st and then stop it on April or May, depending how far you go, and you are surviving inside all the time.
Hmm. Well, I'm sure even weather-wise, it was going from Split to Boston is a big change weather-wise too.
That's not a problem because you travel to the different cities even in Europe where they have snow and stuff. But the real challenge was that you go from Boston on the winter time where you have a minus temperature, and then you go to Florida where you have a nice weather, and then you go from Florida to Denver where you have even worse minus, and then you go from there to LA where you have nice and warm weather. Then from there you go to Utah where you have again snow, and then you go from there to San Francisco where you have nice mild weather again, and then you go to Minnesota where your tears are iced, and that was probably the hardest thing. And then from the game to game, after the game you sit in the plane, you travel to some other area, and then you play a game tomorrow again. So it was hard, but you adjust from after some time. You adjust, and first year was really hard, and then after you just get used to it.
Mm-hmm. As far as the like community of Croatian fans for you in the US when you were playing for Boston?
Oh, they were everywhere, and they were
Yeah.
everywhere. I met people, especially in Toronto. They have a huge Croatian community in LA, in San Francisco, in Miami. I met so many Croatians around the US.
Yeah, my dad is from the LA, and he remembers going to a game where you gave some speech before. I forget what he said you were talking about, but they had some press conference before for the Croatian community, and you spoke before the game and stuff like that.
Yeah, we used to do that all the time. I had some people in Boston too, from Croatia that live there, and we find each other always.
Hmm. Sort of on playing in the US, we as an American, I guess, I think of, the NBA as the pinnacle of basketball. Maybe now it's changing a little bit, but as far as the fans and the stadium, it's pretty mild in terms of compared to European fans and
It's
everything.
nothing comparing to Europe, especially comparing to certain places. Not all the places are the same, but
Mhm.
if you go to Greece or some places in Italy, not all of them. Some places here in Zadar, for example, people go crazy, and it's not easy, to mentally, survive that.
Yeah, I've only seen videos. I've never been to a basketball game outside of the US, but yeah, I've seen crazy.
Different,
Everyone has
different,
flares and just
all kind of stuff. All kind of spitting at you, throwing coins at you,
Oh wow,
throwing
really?
everything on you.
Huh. So not only is it better, I guess, if you're the home team there, but if you're the opposing team, it's a lot worse then, I'm sure.
It's fun. It's fun. It's really fun. It builds you as a character also.
Hmm. That's a good point. Yeah. I want to ask you about the 1992 Olympics. I mean, that was Croatia had an incredible team. That was sort of the maybe golden age of Croatian basketball. Um, and that was you guys won the silver medal against the U.S. It was also an important time during the Homeland War, 1992. Did you ever think about the role at the time? Did you think about, the role you were playing and sort of showcasing Croatia on an international scale through basketball?
That was definitely the most important thing that we did, because nobody knew about Croatia back then, and we had to show world not only about basketball, and that was, believe me, that was less important than showing people around the world that something is happening in our country and we need help. And we were on a mission, and what we did in the semifinals, it was just pure survival because of that. And if I can guarantee you, if a situation was not like that, it was a normal, peaceful situation, we wouldn't win that game. And we just, we know what people were going through, and we just put some, extra effort and extra, desire, some crazy mind woke up to win that game, and to be able to play with the Americans, with the dream team, and showcase everything that is going on in front of more than 1 billion people.
And so it was more than just basketball. You guys were aware of that the whole time.
Definitely.
You mentioned the dream team. I wanted to ask you about that, which you guys played twice throughout during that Olympics. They say that that dream team is the greatest basketball team ever assembled. Would you agree with that?
Definitely, without any doubt.
They were that good.
Definitely. It's just when you only mention their names, Jordan, Magic, Bird, Ewing, David Robinson, Mark Price, unbelievable. Pippen.
Well, you guys had played them once. I guess during the round.
We play in a group and we play in the finals.
In group. So then what was the plan, having played them once, going into the gold medal game? How do you plan to play against the greatest team ever created?
Us just being in a gold medal game was a win, and we just went there and tried to show the world that Croatia is there, and some red and white squares are all of a sudden famous, and it was really the most important thing, and it was like a reward for us for a job well done. And we knew we have a really almost zero chance to beat them, because we were really short. We had only 5 players that can match with them, and our bench was not strong, and they had you didn't know which lineup is better, first or second one. So it was really game without any pressure, and it was good for us. Both of those games was good for us to see where do we stand, and how that game was very important to me personally, because I figure out they are not the Martians, and we can compete with them, and we can score on them, we can defend on them, and we can succeed in NBA. That was very, very important for all of us, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, also on that team with you was the late great Dražen Petrović. I want to ask a little bit about him, if you can talk, for the diaspora like myself, who was too young to see him play. Can you sort of describe how he was as a player? What was it like to play with him?
He was definitely one of the greatest players that that exist. He's a guy who was example, in working out. He was always the best on the practices, and when you don't practice well, he was one that would yell on you before the coach, and he was always, work, 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 work. And when somebody who is the best show you something by example, then you follow. And that's how I learned how to be a leader of the team. And his example was a very important part of that.
Mm-hmm. So he was, I mean, nowadays my generation knows Kobe for his, sort of mentality and
yes, that was it. That was it. He didn't have that kind of physicality like Kobe, but the mind, his mind was exactly like that.
Mm-hmm. Were you guys close? How long did you
Of course,
were you playing together?
we were playing together for like 6-7 years in the national team, and we were good friends, and we talk a lot when he was in US before me. We would speak almost every other day, and because he wanted to know like all the scores from Croatian league, from basketball, soccer, all kind of leagues he would be interested in. And without internet, everything, I would have to buy newspapers and read all the scores to him. And we did that every other day.
Oh, wow. And so he came in a few years before you did to the NBA.
Yeah. He was there. He was there before me.
So he was still in Portland for your first year?
No. He was there 4 years before me. I mean, he
Wow.
went 89 when I was drafted. He went there, but then I went 1 year in back to Split, and then I went 3 years in Rome. And these 4 years, he was in Portland and New Jersey. So
Awesome.
when because I went to 93 after he died, I went to Boston. I mean, when we were together in a national team, I already signed for the Celtics, and he was giving me all kind of advices. And then, unfortunately,
Hmm.
he died in the middle of that training camp.
Yeah, the terrible event that happened. He's definitely one of the greats. His name is always mentioned, great Croatian.
Yeah, we were really good friends, and it was really hard, hard summer.
I'm sure, yeah, for everyone. Um, Dino, I want to talk a little bit about sort of, the modern today's NBA. Recently, Luka Doncic, had a quote. He said that it's easier to score in the NBA, a lot easier to score in the NBA than it is in the Euroleagues. I know it's a completely different era of basketball, but was that the case for you back in the day or no?
Oh, definitely today is much easier. I think that the offense is much more protected that it was back in the days. I think that it's much easier to score today than it was back then. The game definitely has changed. The game looks more like all-star game during the regular season, where you come on a game to see a heavy load of nice passes and dunks and shooting threes and run and gun game. During the playoffs, it's a little different, but I think back then it was much harder to play the game. They would beat the crap out of you, especially in certain places like in New York, like Detroit, and surviving that, it was a difficult task.
Yeah. Well, I heard you in an interview talk about, I think you were talking about Shaq, and you mentioned how, as soon as you would get the ball in the paint, everyone would just swarm you. And in today's NBA, you can have all the time. Or you were talking about Luka
Yeah.
Doncic, I think, and how he was pump faking three
Yes,
times in the paint.
look at those. Yes.
And I was
Yes, but times are changing, and but he's one of the greatest talents that I have ever seen. Really, him and Jokic, they are guys that see game, 3 steps ahead, not 1 step ahead, but 3 steps ahead. And that's something that you are born with. That's something that you cannot learn. You can work as much as you want, but these guys are incredibly talented.
Yeah, they're incredible athletes, incredible players. I was watching your highlights, and as soon as you would take one dribble in the paint, there's like 3 guys.
Everybody.
uh,
Different times.
yeah, different times. Dino, as far as Croatian basketball goes right now, I mean, there's some great players in the NBA, Ivica Zubac, Bojan Bogdanovic, among others, Šarić. But it seems like internationally, they haven't been performing as well as they have in the past. What do you think is sort of maybe the solution, I'll say, to getting Croatian basketball back up on top internationally?
Unfortunately, the way basketball is today, I don't see it happening very soon. There are a few reasons for that. First of all, there is a fight between EuroLeague and FIBA. So EuroLeague teams doesn't allow their players to play for national team. Then on the summertime you do have them. Then NBA players are not playing during the winter qualifications and stuff. And you have different lineups all the time. On the summertime you have all of them. Then on the winter time you have different players, and then it's very hard, when they don't, bond together, match together, they don't have many practices together. It's really hard to make something up. And then people say, yes, but it's the same for everybody. It's not the same for everybody. Croatia has less than 4 million people. Spain has 50 million. France has 60 million, Italy has 40 million people. So you have a bigger pool of players, and they have better competition within the country, where you have these core players that are playing, on a winter time, because on a winter time the EuroLeague doesn't allow, the NBA doesn't allow. So we miss most of these qualifications because of a lack of quality of domestic players. And domestic players are not playing here because all these best teams, they are taking a lot of Americans, and they take all the responsibility. They are paid a lot. They use the basketball heavily, and the domestic players are not deciding the games. So you have them being like role players for all the season, and then all of a sudden they have to be game deciders for 1 or 2 games that you play in qualifications. So it's impossible, and I don't see that change in a near future. I think first of all FIBA and EuroLeague have to sit down and try to figure out how to do this, and then you're gonna need some years, for players. Players need to play together. This is not basketball is not a tennis where you have one player and he goes and practice on his own and he decide game on his own. You have 5 players on the court, and you have another 3 or 4 definitely that have to mix and match with each other in order to be successful. Creating a team is a long work, not just pick players and have them win the game. That's how you do all-star game, but not important competition, long competition and stuff like that.
So that chemistry of playing together enough times is lacking.
Yeah.
Dino, what are you up to nowadays? Are you still involved in basketball? I saw
No, not anymore. I'm kind of slowing down with everything, walking the dog, going on the mountains every day, and trying to enjoy. I was with basketball for a long time, for 40 years, and I think it's time to back off for some younger guys to come in.
Mm-hmm. I saw you've been playing guitar lately. I saw a video you were playing, I think, Genica.
Yeah, I have different hobbies. I'm skiing and playing guitar, trying to learn Spanish now.
Oh, wow, really?
Different
How's that
hobbies
going?
you have to.
How's it going learning Spanish?
Good, good. For 1 year, I'm able to communicate. I think I have a teacher. I have a one very good application that I use, and I can understand a lot. I cannot understand when they speak, fast and some,
Uh,
slang. But I love it. I really love it. I can see a movie with subtitles, because with subtitles, when I read, I can understand what is it about. I can't understand everything. 1 year is not enough time to learn a language, but I love it.
mhm.
It's something to do.
Well, I've been living here in Zagreb now for almost 2 years, and my Croatian is horrible. It's so hard for me to learn all the padeži and everything grammatically.
Yeah. So you move here for last 2 years.
Yeah.
You plan to stay here, or?
Um, well, I hope my mom is not listening to this when I release the episode, but maybe. It seems she's back in LA. My family's in Los Angeles, but yeah, I like it here in Zagreb. I like living in Croatia. It's a different lifestyle, of course, than the US
Yeah,
and Los
it's
Angeles.
much less stressed, and
Hmm.
if you are financially independent, that it's really the great place to live.
Yeah, everything polako, pomalo, as they say.
Yes,
Yeah, I like
yes.
it a lot. All right, we've only got about a minute and a half here left. I'll hit you with a few quick questions if you can answer them quickly, sort of fun ones. Nicest teammate.
Oh, D Brown in Boston, definitely.
Okay. Player you would least want to fight. Not teammate, but anyone you've played against.
Oh, Shaq, you don't want to fight Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh man, yeah, Shaq was huge, huge back in the
Yeah, he still is.
day.
But
Most
he's a great guy, he was never dirty guy.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. And even
And
now he's doing good things,
yeah, he's strong, but he was never dirty guy.
Mhm. Most memorable shot of your career.
Oh, there are so many, but I have to say, the game that we won our first European title in Munich. It was one of probably the point where I run the fast break and dunk the ball for the assurance that we will win the title. That was probably the most emotional one.
Hmm. And final question, top three all-time greats in order, if you can.
I would say Michael Jordan, without doubt, is the number one. Um, I would put that Larry Bird and
Okay, sorry. So you had said MJ, Larry Bird.
MJ, Larry, and Kobe.
Hmm. That's the top three. Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, Dino, I want to thank you as we're here at the end of the episode. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and speaking to me and to, the rest of the Croatian diaspora and whoever else is listening to the podcast. But yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time.
no problem. Hello to everybody across the ocean.